Alright you guys, so welcome back to my channel. I wanted to go ahead and do an all bronzer video because I do have a lot of bronzers in my collection. So I do want to share with you guys my favorites and the different undertones and all that good stuff when it comes to bronzers. So I do have them to the left of me. But before we do jump into that, make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, and let's jump right into the video. So I was sitting here trying to figure out how to do this video. So I will do drugstore versus high end, but it's not like a battle or anything. It just makes it easier to split it up into categories. So starting with the first one, of course, if you guys don't know already, it's a Covergirl Queen Collection Ebony bronzer. And when it comes to this bronzer, I'm not sure if you can find it in the stores anymore, because I remember back in the day I had to go to Kmart or even Walmart and really search for this, because for some reason it's not in every store out there. But if you do find it, I will say it's a great bronzer because it does have a little bit of shimmer in there, so it adds a nice glow to the skin. The only thing with this I will say is it's a little bit too red for my skin, and y'all know back in the day we only had like this bronzer, honestly, so it didn't matter if it was too red for your skin. You had to do what you had to do. But now that we have a lot of options, this is still beautiful on the skin, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit too red. But at the same time, it's still a very nice bronzer. And I will say one thing about it, the formula is a little bit stiff because it's not as soft as my other bronzers. It's a little bit, rock hard, but at the same time, it still works. Alright, so the next one I do have for you guys is a Shea Moisture Illuminated Mineral Bronzer in the shade Dusk. Now with this one, honestly, y'all, just being honest, I'm not sure if it's still in the stores. I know I got this at Ulta a long time ago, but I feel like they discontinued this. If they did, let me know down below. But this bronzer, when it came out, everybody freaked out because I do believe this was the darkest bronzer back in the day, because it's super dark, as y'all can see right here, and I will swatch it as well. But when it comes to this bronzer, I will say to me it's more so a contour on my skin than anything, just because it's super dark. But at the same time, it does have a little bit of shimmer in there, so it adds a nice glow to the skin. And do I still use this? Not really, but if I need a little bit of, chisel to my cheeks, I will go ahead and use this. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful bronzer. I love the formula and all of that. But like I mentioned, I'm not sure if it's still in the store, but if it is, let me know down below. So these last two bronzers are the only ones I do have left for drugstore, and it's the Morphe Glamabronze bronzers. And I do have the shade Leader and also Phenom. And I do believe when this came out, everybody went crazy because when it comes to drugstore, you guys, honestly, we don't have a lot of choices. And I will say with these specifically, I was so impressed because when I went to the Morphe store and I saw all the different shades they had, you guys, I was so impressed. And also one thing I do want to point out is the formula itself, because it's super creamy and buttery on the skin. So the first one I do want to show you guys is Phenom, which I use all the time because it's not too red or too orange on the skin. It's very, very just nice and neutral. And the other one I do have is called Leader, and Leader does kind of pull a little bit more red on the skin, but I do use it sometimes in the summer because I do get a little bit darker. Now I feel like when it comes to drugstore, of course, these are the best options you have out there. And I do know Makeup Revolution came out with their bronzers as well, which I haven't been able to get my hands on, and I'm so upset because I believe it was only online. It's not in stores yet, so every time I went to buy it, it was sold out. So if you do have it, let me know your thoughts down below. But when it comes to drugstore, these are my favorite. So now time for high end, because that's where I have a lot of my bronzers from, and I'm not even sure where to start off with first. But the first one I do want to touch base on is the Anastasia Beverly Hills powder bronzers, and I do have the shade Mahogany. And I remember vividly, you guys, when Anastasia said she was coming out with bronzers, I freaked out. I was like, you know what, I love Anastasia, the bronzers are gonna be bomb and all of that, and they are, you guys, because they're super nice and buttery and creamy on the skin. The only thing is this shade right here, I believe, is the darkest, and I don't think they came out with a darker one yet. But with this, it's weird because it looks nice and neutral in the pan, okay? But when you do swatch it, it kind of gives you this gray cast. And I didn't realize it was doing that till somebody pointed it out. And I'm not sure if y'all can see it on camera, but in person, when you do swatch it, if y'all can see it on my finger, this is perfect. So yeah, looking at my finger right now, y'all can see it has this gray cast to it. And I'm not sure why it does that, because in the pan, it looks, brown, but I don't know, it just has that great undertone. So nonetheless, I love the formula, but I do wish he came out with a darker bronzer or different colors in the future, because this one right here, I was obsessed with it till I realized it was looking great on my skin. So those are my thoughts on this one. And also I do want to point out, if you do see like any brown stuff underneath my nails, you guys, it's the bronzers, because I'm swatching them. So don't think I'm dirty, all right? It's the bronzers. Now moving on to the next one, I do have the NARS Gienah Contour Blush, and I call it a contour blush, but honestly to me this one is a bronzer, and I completely broke this because I am obsessed with this bronzer. But this is what it looks like right here. As y'all can see, it has a nice blend of, you know, a little bit of red, but it's not too much. But nonetheless, you guys, I love NARS formulas because they're super buttery, they're super creamy on the skin, and it lasts all day. So let me give y'all a good swatch of it on my finger so y'all can really see what it looks like. And y'all can tell it's not too red, it's not too orange, it's a very neutral bronzer on the skin. And if you've been looking for a bronzer like this, I do recommend this one. The only thing is, they don't have it in Sephora or anything like that. I believe I got this on the NARS website, and I'm not sure if they still have this on there, but if they do, go ahead and pick it up. And I just realized, in case you are wondering what this powder is right here, it is an under eye powder, but it's a little bit ashy on the skin. So yeah. So moving on to Bobbi Brown, I do have their bronzing powder in the shade Deep. And this powder or bronzer, you guys, this is so unique because when you look at it in the pan, you just look like, you know, this is gonna look ashy on the skin. But once you apply it on your skin, it's actually beautiful because it just starts to build up really nicely. It's not too pigmented. You can go ahead and take your time and it'll still look beautiful. And I will show you guys what it looks like on my finger. So let me go ahead and give y'all a quick swatch. Now y'all can see, okay, it has a little bit of a gray undertone, but I do promise you, when you put it on your skin, it pulls a little bit more red. All right, so don't get fooled by this at all. Once you put it on your skin, it will bronze it up. But nonetheless, I will say the formula is very nice. It lasts all day on the skin, creamy, buttery, all of that. But I will say, when I was using this bronzer, it wasn't my favorite from the collection, but at the same time, it still worked for me, if that makes sense. So I feel like with this, you know, just go ahead and try it out and let me know what you think about it. But for me, it wasn't a bronzer that I always, you know, wanted to use in my collection. But nonetheless, there's so many shades out there to pick from, so go ahead and try it out. All right, so this next one, I feel like when it came out, everybody freaked out and went out and got it. And it's a Hula Twisted bronzer from Benefit. And this bronzer is so funny to me because you guys know Hula bronzer has always been around, but the shades were a little bit too light for our skin tones. So when Toasted came out, I was just like, you know what, let me go ahead and buy it because I never got to test out the formula of Hula bronzers. So with that being said, this is what it looks like. If I can show you guys right here. And this bronzer really impressed me because, you know, when I saw the bronzer, I was like, this is really nice. So one thing I will say about this bronzer is it does live up to the hype because it is super buttery, you guys, super creamy and very, very pigmented. But one thing I do want to say is the color you see in here, do not get fooled. This bronzer is a lot darker and deeper than you think. So let me give y'all a swatch of it if I can get a good amount on my finger. But this is the bronzer, you guys. Hopefully this is focusing. Let me see. This is the bronzer right here. All right, I hope y'all can see this, but it is super, super dark. Let me get more of it on my finger so I can really show you guys what it looks like. So here it is right here, as y'all can see. Hopefully it's focusing, but it is super dark and pigmented, you guys. And I did not expect that because when I put it on my skin, I was like, did I apply contour? Like, what is going on? And with this bronzer, I'm telling you, if you want a nice contour on the face, go with this bronzer. All right. So to me, more so, this is more like a contour than a bronzer, but at the same time it still works. But nonetheless, I love this one. Now these last two are probably my favorite bronzers in my whole entire collection. All right, and one of them is the Fenty Beauty Coco Naughty bronzer. I'm sure I don't have to say too much about this, but this bronzer If you watch my channel, I wear it all the time, and this is my second one, you know, that I've gotten, so I'm almost, you know, done with this one. But nonetheless, you guys, I love this bronzer so much because, one, it doesn't have any kickback. All right, it's a very nice formula, and also with this, you can take your time and build the color up. It is not too pigmented, so you can kind of, you know, work with it. But also, I love this shade because it was the first bronzer that wasn't too red on my skin, if that makes sense. I've always wanted a nice neutral brown bronzer, and I don't know why a lot of companies only come out with red bronzers, but with this one, it's the first neutral bronzer I've ever tried, and I love this stuff. So I'm not gonna keep going on and on. You guys know how I feel, but Fenty, I love their bronzers. So finally, we do have the last bronzer, which I recently picked up, and I'm obsessed with, you guys, and I also have it on my skin today. This bronzer is so beautiful. It's so buttery, it's so creamy, it's so soft, and it doesn't look like you applied bronzer on your skin. It looks very natural, and it's a Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush bronzer, and I got it in the shade Tan. And first of all, let me show y'all the packaging, because the packaging is absolutely beautiful. So let me open it up and show you guys what it looks like. This bronzer kind of reminds me of the Fenty bronzer because it's a very nice neutral bronzer. Okay, it doesn't pull too red, too orange, or any of that. It's a very beautiful brown bronzer on the skin. And what I really love about this is when I first put it on, I just keep looking at my skin like, is it on my skin? Like, is it applying? I can't really tell. And it's because I'm used to bronzers being very, you know, harsh and just like pigmented and all of that on the skin. But with this, it gives you, if y'all can see on my skin right now, it gives you a very beautiful bronze like look. I cannot put it into words, you just have to try it out. But somebody did mention, and she described it best, that the reason why it doesn't look like you're applying any bronzer is because Charlotte really mastered the color and made sure that it looked like a natural tan on the skin, if that makes sense. Whereas with a lot of the bronzers I do have look very, you know, blush like on the skin. They're super red or super pink. So this bronzer is probably one of the best I've tried. If you do ask me, out of my whole collection, which bronzers I do love, is definitely the Fenty one and the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. Alright, you guys, so that was my entire bronzer collection. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and also let me know down below any other bronzers you do love out there, because I only have 9 or 10, so I know there's a lot of bronzers I haven't tried, but let me know your favorites down below. But with that being said, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Y'all, Welch's berries and cherries. That's one more. Oh, they have blue. This one they have blue. It tastes a little stale.